Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Creative Tavern. My name is Christopher Lee. I am a concept designer. Been in the industry for about 10 years now. Work with companies such as Walt Disney Imagineering as well as Universal Creative. And I'm here today with my buddy Michael Welker.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael O. Welker. I am a creative technologist and writer. I also was a producer in the theme park industry, which is where I got to meet and work with Chris on several big theme park projects. But recently we found ourselves in between big projects and said, hey, let's do a creative project together, the two of us, of our own. And took us a while to figure out what that was, but we eventually decided on learning how to make a video game, and we did that. And
Yeah.
in addition to making that game, we wanted to give other creatively minded people a window into our creative process. So we started the Creative Tavern and we live streamed for 6 months all 50 design meetings that it took to go from concept to final finished video game prototype that you can actually download and play.
Oh,
Um,
yes. And while you say that, I'm gonna type in the game right there.
got a link for
Cool.
you, so you can
Yep.
just check it out right there. But that's not the only reason we created the Creative Tavern. And to tell you more about that, I'm going to hand it back to Chris.
Cool, thank you, Michael. And the one of the reasons why we created the Creative Tavern was for us, for myself, for Michael, for you, for everyone to have a place to just congregate and just get to know one another and to help support one another in each other's creative endeavors. Because when we design something, sometimes it's hard. Design is hard. Creating things is hard. We always had like a roadblock, and when I hit a roadblock, I always ask Michael, I was like, "Hey, Michael, can you take a look at this?" and see if there's anything wrong with it because I've been staring at it forever. So, and Michael usually can get me like a fresh POV, and that's like one of the things that I love about a collaboration is you get like a different point of view from different people, and that really helps us expands our creative horizons and whatnot. And so yeah, we welcome you guys to be in here, and we have a Discord, and if you want to ever share your work on every Sunday, which is today, we will take a look at your guys' amazing work. So if you have anything you guys want to share, feel free to post it in the Discord, and then we will take a look at it tonight. Michael, did I miss anything?
Uh, oh, we also have a survey
Ah,
available.
yes. Yeah.
This survey is basically just a way for Chris and I to get an idea of what kinds of content you guys might be interested in. So if you could click that link, it's a really fast survey. It should only take you a couple minutes, like 2 to 5 minutes max. But that'll kind of give us an idea of some of the stuff that you're interested in and help us shape where we go in the future with the Creative Tavern.
Yeah.
Since right now we're kind of in a bit of a break period and trying out some new stuff and not really working on a big project right now, this is the perfect time for us to kind of reassess what the Creative Tavern can be and where it can go. So, and we'd
Yeah.
love to get your input on that.
Yeah. And thank you guys so much for taking the time to one playing our game as well as taking the survey to let us know what how you would like this, you know, uh, channel slash platform to go, right? And it gives us some, a good idea. So really appreciate it, guys. Thank you, thank you. All right, Michael. Today is Sunday. We're obviously going to take a look at some amazing artwork. Oh, side note, I'm a little bit sick right now, so I apologize. I may cough during the stream, so please be patient, and I apologize. Like I caught the ligma, aka COVID. It's not good. The worst phase has passed, so we're good. We're good. I'm just coughing right now. But anyways, we for the past few weeks, Michael and I have been, taking a little break, and we've been having some fun. Both Michael and I are ad or not avid, but we enjoy Marvel movies, and we thought, or Michael thought that it would be a good idea to, do a kind of like a ranking based on all the Marvel movies from tier one to, but phase one to phase, was it four now?
Yes, I think we're in phase four
In
right now. I
Yeah,
think
we're in phase four. Okay.
Endgame completed phase three, I think.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, we're just going to we've been categorizing all, everything from the S tier all the way down to F tier, listing all the all the various movies in each tiers, comparing ours with each other as well as the Rotten Tomatoes critic score as well as audience score, which they are absolutely wrong. And I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So with that
Yeah, those
said,
two camps like can't agree on anything. The
I know,
audience and the
man.
critics are just diametrically opposed.
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm gonna do now is I will share my screen and we will get started.
Excellent.
Oops, what is going on? Uh, whoa.
Whoa, what's happening?
Oh, this is strange. Oh, this is very strange. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Ah, there you go. Sorry,
Just so
technical
you know,
difficulties.
we're just seeing your Photoshop.
Uh,
It just looks normal.
oh, okay. But it looks good now. Can you see my Photoshop?
Yep, we can see
Okay,
it.
sweet. Okay. So, let me give you guys a quick overview. So this is the entire list so far. This is S, A, B, all the way to F. And currently, this is Michael and my S tier. And let me just boom right there. Yeah, so right now, the top of our list is Thor Ragnarok. That's the best movie there is right now, and our worst movie right for me is Iron Man 3, and the worst movie for Michael is Thor: The Dark World. And tonight we shall be reviewing dun 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 Infinity War. Okay.
Yep, Infinity War. So let's see here. Came out. Wow, that's interesting. April of 2018. Um, big summer blockbuster coming out
Yeah,
in April.
yeah. So, Michael, since I haven't seen this in such a long time, I think it would help me to get a good recap from you. You're
Absolutely.
much more eloquent, so feel free to let me know your thoughts, sir.
Sure. So if you so we could do this one of two ways. Like I could just kind of go through my spiel and then hand the mic over to you, or which I think might be more interesting and maybe a little bit easier on your voice, is if we could do this simultaneously. I'll kind of go through
Sure,
my
sure,
notes.
sure, sure.
I'll talk
Yeah.
about like, hey, so I wrote a note about this thing that happens at the beginning of the movie, and here's what I think about that. What do you think, Chris? And then
Mm-hmm.
you can hand it back to me, and I'll go to the next thing. We'll kind of just work through this together, and then when we get all the way to the end, we can give our final assessments.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sweet. Okay, so just FYI, I have been. It wasn't, necessarily part of our agenda. Um, this was kind of just like a fun off the cuff thing. But since I've been taking a break myself from big projects, I've had the time to go and watch some stuff. So I've actually been going back and rewatching a lot of these movies and making notes. And so far, Infinity War has the most notes,
Mm.
more than anything. So I got a lot here for us to go through and talk about, and it goes mostly in chronological order of the movie, like starting with things that happen at the beginning all the way through
Sure,
to
sure.
the very end. And of course, uh, spoilers. This entire conversation is going to be chock full of spoilers. So if you don't want to hear, if you haven't seen Infinity War yet, get on it. Like,
Yeah,
please get out there and see it. It's definitely worth your time.
it's good.
Um, but yeah, okay. So here we go. Um, the very first thing that I noted here happens like pretty close to the beginning of the movie. It's the moment where Bruce Banner, who's the Hulk, reunites with Tony. Um, in the previous movies, just to kind of give some context here, in like the previous Avengers movie, Age of Ultron, at the end of that, Hulk kind of he gets stuck on a Quinjet and it goes into like a vortex or something, and he's lost. Like nobody knows where he is. Then in Thor Ragnarok, it's revealed that he ended up on Sakaar, this planet that kind of like collects the it's the sort of like it's the junk collection box of the galaxy, where all these things kind of like end up in this on the same planet ruled by Jeff Goldblum. But anyway, so that's where Thor finds Hulk and then brings Banner back into the fray, and Banner eventually gets back to um, Earth, and he gets back to Earth because Thanos attacks the Asgardian ship, uh, kills a lot of people. Like
Yeah.
immediately, we get two major deaths. Loki has like this heroic moment where he's trying to, you know, kill Thanos to save everybody, but Thanos is too quick for him, so he dies. And then Heimdall, am I saying that right?
Heimdall. Yep.
Yep, there you go. Idris Elba, his character, he also, it like his last moment is heroic because he ends up Thanos is fighting the Hulk, and the Hulk is actually getting his ass kicked. And Thanos is about to kill him, and then Heimdall does like one last Bifrost port where he saves Hulk, sends him back to Earth, and of course that costs him his life because Thanos is really pissed off about that and kills Heimdall.
Yep.
Um, and the whole time this is happening, Thor is uh, like chained up in these bits of iron, and he's even got like a gag where he can't talk. He's just watching all of this happen. So it's just complete torture for him to watch these people, these guys that he's been so close with die. So that's like this movie starts intense, like comes out swinging, just killing
Yeah.
people, really setting up Thanos to be this powerful, intimidating villain that you really want to hate immediately. Um, so that's pretty cool. Um, and the part that I was trying to get to is like when Heimdall teleports Bruce back to Earth. Bruce meets Tony, and then there's this moment. But before we get to that, since I ended up like recapping the entire intro, what did you think about that intro, Chris?
I thought it was awesome. I thought the fight between Hulk and uh, Thanos, I wanted to see more of it because they were just going at it MMA style, and it was like, holy cow, it was a lot of
Yeah,
fun. And I forgot what's his name. The guy who does the telekinesis.
yeah. I'll look it up. I
Yeah,
remember what it.
but yeah, he was like, let him have his fun, and I was like,
Mhm.
damn, dude. And then yeah, Thanos had some move. He was like, ba 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 ba, and Hulk just got his ass wrecked, and it was awful for him.
Yeah, and that character's name is Ebony Maw or the
Ma,
Maw.
the Ma, yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it was a great scene, and it was really, I mean, fun is not the right word, but it was really interesting to, excuse me, I have the hiccups now. It's back.
Oh, they're back.
They're back. Apologize. I've been having like hiccups as well. Um, but yeah, it was good to see where Thor Ragnarok ended and Infinity War picked up because you're like, all right, now they're, going trailing off, and then I remember at the end of the end credit, we see like a huge ship like at the end of, Thor, right? And I was like, uh-oh. And then we had to wait like all this time for Infinity War to come out to see what actually happened. So, that sucks for the Asgardians. Which excuse me, I will say, man, Thanos goes through some shit, dude. He goes through a lot as a character, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Go ahead, Michael.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, that's I totally agree. Like this movie immediately, as soon as it starts, it dials it up to 11 and doesn't stop and
Yeah.
just immediately pulls you in, and you're like, whoa, this movie is not holding back. Like, this is pretty serious.
Yep.
Um, and you ain't seen nothing yet because this movie goes to some crazy places from here. Like, starts with the banger and just gets more impressive as we go.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but anyway, so Heimdall ports Bruce Banner back to Earth. And this is the first time Bruce has been back on Earth since he disappeared and nobody knew where he was back in Age of Ultron. And he ends up in New York and goes to see Tony immediately. And Tony is there like having a jog or something with Pepper Potts, and they're kind of talking about their relationship in the future and stuff. But it gets interrupted um, by Bruce like coming out and I don't remember exactly what he says, but he's like completely distraught. And in fact, actually, I've got a note here. Oh, so I guess Doctor Strange is also with them. Like he opens a portal, steps
Yep.
through, and tells Stark like, "Hey, the fate of the universe is at stake." And Tony's reaction is like, "Who the fuck are you? Like, I'm
Yeah.
out here having a nice jog with my." with Pepper here, and you're telling me that like we need to go somewhere. Like I don't need to do anything with you. But then Bruce comes through the portal, and like the first thing he does is just go and hug Tony. And
Yeah.
Tony's like, "Whoa, you okay, bud? Like what's going on?"
Yeah.
And that was so good, like that I paused, stopped to come write a note about like how awesome that moment is. That Tony, without Bruce even really needing to say anything, Tony knows something is wrong.
Right.
And it's both like simultaneously this reunion of these two characters who know each other, have a lot of history, um, and Tony hasn't seen Bruce for a long time, and it's this like emotional vulnerability from the strongest Avenger, like Bruce the Hulk, um, being just like so scared of of Thanos and what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I loved that moment. And I like the little like banter between Tony and Doctor Strange too. But what would you think, Chris?
I yeah, I totally agree. I always thought that, I've always wanted to see what the relationship or the interaction between Strange and, Tony Stark, because both of them have like a huge ass ego. And a fun tidbit is that both of Robert Downey Jr. and oh crap,
Benedict
sorry.
Cumberbatch?
Thank you. They both played Sherlock Holmes, and
Oh yeah, you're right.
in well, not Tony Stark, excuse me, in Robert Downey's move Sherlock Holmes, his girlfriend plays in that movie plays in the Marvel movie,
Whoa.
uh what you
Yeah,
call
Rachel
it?
McAdams
Yeah, Rachel McAdams are like both
plays
lovers
Christine
with y- y- yes,
in
I
the
believe
Doctor
so.
Strange universe.
Yeah, yeah. She is like lovers with both of the Sherlock. So it's really, really weird. And I find that strange.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's like total nonsense. But yeah, I like the interaction between all three characters. I totally agree with you. Like once, Banner came out of that portal, he was like, "Oh gosh, something is wrong." And to, Bruce is back, and why is he back? And it must be really bad. So yeah, the whole interaction, it's all about relationships, right? Because Tony doesn't know Doctor Strange, right? He doesn't care, but he actually cares about Bruce. So bringing him out like that, I think that's really good,
Yeah. Yeah.
really
Yep.
effective.
Nailed it. Um, yeah. So that moment I thought was really awesome. And then I got another note here that I call the post Civil War blues, because I think this is where Tony is catching Bruce up on because he's been away. He's missed a whole lot of stuff that's happened, including
Yeah,
all of the events of Civil War. And so he's like, "Hey, Avengers broke up, man. Like Cap and I aren't speaking terms." And Bruce is like, "Broke up? Like the Beatles? It doesn't matter, man. Thanos is coming." Um, and so I thought that was pretty cool. Like that was a fun little moment there. Oh, there's a really good Stan Lee cameo in this one, and it happens like right at the beginning of the movie. Do you remember what it is, Chris?
oh gosh.
Not that this is trivia or a quiz, a
No,
test.
I can't remember.
I'll
I
give
give
you
up.
sure. I'll go. I'm gonna start telling you, and then if you remember, you can jump in.
Okay.
Um, so we cut away to Peter Parker, and he's on a bus. He's on his school bus, like with all the other kids.
Oh,
And
he's
of
a bus
course,
driver.
it's yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay. There you go. Nice.
So at this by this time, the Maw and like the other big Thanos thug alien character show up in their spaceship, and it's causing this huge disturbance in the middle of New York because they're there to collect. I think they're after Doctor Strange's gemstone or his Infinity Stone,
Yeah.
which is the one that he wears in his necklace to control time. Um, so that there's this giant spaceship and it's like causing this huge disruption and like buildings are falling down and shit. And so we cut away to the school bus where Peter Parker and all the other kids are there, and Peter Parker's like the hairs on his arms stand up, like his spider sense starts tingling, and
Spidey
he like
senses.
turns and
Yeah.
looks out the window, and there's like a spaceship out there, and he's like, "Oh shit!" So he like taps his buddy sitting in the seat ahead, and it's like, "Hey, um, I need your help. Create a distraction." And his buddy immediately is like, "Oh my god, we're all gonna die! There's a spaceship!" And everybody's just starting to go like apeshit.
Yeah.
And then cut to Stan Lee, who's driving the bus, and he goes, "What's the matter with you kids? You ain't never seen a spaceship before?"
Yeah.
I thought,
Yeah.
like,
That's
man,
cool.
that was so good.
That's pretty funny.
Um, okay, so I have my like first negative note here. That's
Oh
interesting
no.
because this will actually come back later as maybe totally forgivable and not a negative.
Uh-huh.
Um, the Iron Man nanosuit armor.
Oh
We've
yeah.
talked
Same
about
here.
this
Yep.
a couple. Yep, talked about this
I
a couple of
don't like
times.
it.
Nowhere near as, yeah, the like actual physical mechanical, armor construction around Tony is way more interesting than they'll like hit a button and these the suit just like yeah it just like materializes around you.
Yeah.
That's just not very interesting. It's just not very cool. So they're doing that again, and I understand why they're doing it. Like they really do it out of convenience because it would be very it like in the writing room it would be a huge pain in the ass whenever you wanted Iron Man to get into his suit to be like, well, he has to be in his workshop or he has to be at some
Yeah.
kind of place where there's an Iron Man suit with the equipment that can put it on him. Can we just like have him push a button and no matter where he is, he just bam, instantly he's in the suit? Um, I get it. They do it for writing convenience, and
Yeah.
eh, it's a minor like pet peeve. It doesn't ruin the movie in any way. It's just like, that's not as cool as it could be.
Right.
Um, but they're doing that again, so I just had a little note here about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And I,
oh,
I absolutely agree because, yeah, the whole Iron Man thing for me, it's always seeing how he puts it on, especially in Iron Man 1 and also Iron Man 2, especially if you remember Iron Man 2. Hold on. I can't remember. Oh, shoot. Remember when he yeah, it was Avengers. It was the first Avenger when he was underwater doing um uh his own power source to light up Stark Tower, and then he flew up. It was nighttime, and then he landed on a platform, and then he started walking on the platform, and then his platform like opens up, and all this
oh
like
yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah. And
mechanical
it's like
things
moving
just
with him, right?
exactly. He's just walking, and then it's just taking the his suit apart for him, and I think that's like so cool. But I totally get it too. Like having to do that every single time. Like he can't put the iron suit on unless he's at home, right? So it's better
Right.
to just eat and then just then it's a lot more convenient. So yeah, I get it, but to me it's not as cool. I still want to see the machines helping him put on the suit. That's actually a lot cooler. More mechanical.
Yeah. Yep. I'm right there with you, and I wrote this as a negative, but it eventually came back, and I was like, actually, this thing that they do at the end, which I'm going to skip a little bit ahead here just to talk about this so I don't forget about it. Um, the way that the nanotech works is Tony can kind of like at will choose which parts of his body have the tech on him, and he can kind of change it too, like in real time. So there are moments when he's like trying to have a conversation with somebody, so he'll like remove just the helmet, so the nanotech like fades away from his head, and then his human head is exposed. Now he can talk to people and they can see his face and stuff. Or he's like, he'll change his armor from the regular hand to I don't know, like a tubular fist thing or something like
Mhm.
that. So he can kind of like change it at will. And there's this scene much later in the movie where he is fighting Thanos,
Yeah.
or a bunch of people are fighting Thanos, and he's really getting his ass handed to him. And you can see his suit is taking damage with each like hit that Thanos lands, and it's actually like blowing away parts of the nanotech. And there comes a point where Tony is like trying to hold back Thanos, and you can see, and the camera cuts to like his left leg, and you
Hmm.
can see the nanotech removing from the leg and being reallocated up to the part where he's like uh, trying to hold back Thanos with. And so there's like parts of his body that are becoming exposed because there's just not enough nano resources to completely, encapsulate him. So he's diverting everything to try to like stop Thanos from overpowering him.
Right.
And it creates this just moment of intensity where you're just like on the edge of your seat because you see just how hard Tony is working to hold back this, this god of a villain. Um, and it's just awesome. Like I thought, like that was like enough for me to completely redeem the nanotech in this movie. Maybe not
Mm.
in the other movies because I feel like there it's a little bit lazier, but here it was like, okay, that
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
Sure. 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 Yeah, I agree.
Um, Okay. So this is a funny thing that's like a recurring theme throughout the movie, and I think it's both really great writing, in terms of like building drama and conflict and stuff, but it's also like just really funny and entertaining. So it's like dramatically interesting and comedically interesting, and that is the Hulk won't come out motif,
Yeah. Yeah.
where basically throughout almost like all of the Marvel movies where Hulk is one of the characters, he's like never completely in control of his you know of the Hulk. There are times when like it comes out and it's in control and he can't really say when it does or doesn't come out. um and like in Thor Ragnarok, Hulk is like completely in control and won't let Banner out.
Hmm.
uh and then by the end of Thor Ragnarok, Banner comes back, but then Hulk is kind of like in hiding and doesn't want to come out. And so here in Infinity War, there are all these moments where Bruce is like, all right, here we go, it's time to like let the green monster out. And Hulk, it's not coming.
Yeah.
So there's this one point where Ebony Maw and the other Thanos crony are invading New York, and the on-hand Avengers, which is Tony, Bruce, Doctor Strange, and
Wong.
the sorcerer Wong, yeah, Wong.
Wong. Yeah. Wong.
Um, they're all present, and Tony's like, ready to sick Hulk on these guys, and Bruce is like trying, and nothing's happening. And he's like, "I'm sorry, he's not coming out. We're kind of having a thing." And Tony's like, "What do you mean a thing? There's no time for a thing."
Yeah.
Um, and then I think this is even yeah, Bruce is like, "Come out," and then like for a second, Hulk's face comes out and goes, "No!"
No.
And then it
Yeah.
turns back into Bruce, and he's like, "What do you mean no?"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's just so funny to see those two like having this thing. But it's also really great, like story wise, because it makes the situation that much more desperate. Um, when you know that you have this hero, Bruce, who has this crazy power, like he's so freaking strong, um, but he can't use it for whatever reason. Hulk's not coming out. Um, so it creates this I think that's one of the most interesting things that you can do with superhero characters is take away their power or put them into a situation where they they can't be super, or they have to be clever, or they have to do
Yeah.
something to get their power back. That's really interesting. And so not only is this interesting, but it's also really funny. And there's even a moment much later where it's like the final battle, like it's it's now or never, and uh, Bruce is like, "All right," talking to Hulk. "I know you like to come out at the last second." And the Hulk comes out and goes, "No!" again. And he's like, "Well, screw you, you big green asshole. I'll do it myself."
Yeah.
um, which is just awesome. Like it was just so funny to see Bruce get so frustrated, and that never resolves. Like he never gets Hulk to come out through the whole movie,
Yeah.
which is fun.
And King
Um,
Cass says the other one of Thanos's minions is called the Black
oh,
Dwarf.
the Black Dwarf.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, King.
Now I can stop stumbling around like Thanos's other, big beefy thug minion. I could just say the Black Dwarf. Perfect.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, King. Um, okay, so Hulk won't come out. The next thing was that I had a note for was Tony and Peter's relationship, which I think is really good. And I think we talked a little bit about this before, Chris, where both I think you and I think that the Tony Peter mentor
Relationship.
mentee,
Yeah.
yeah, is actually really good. And here I think it's also awesome. There's this moment where Spider-Man the Black Dwarf and Maw, Ebony Maw, capture Doctor Strange and they're flying away on their spaceship, and Spider-Man has like grabbed onto the spaceship, but because he's just wearing his like regular spandex suit, eventually when they leave the atmosphere, there's not enough oxygen for him to breathe, so he passes out, uh, and starts falling back to Earth. But of course, Tony is in close pursuit behind and has a special care package sent that lands on Spider-Man, catches him in the sky, and the nanotech like encapsulates him in this new like Spider-Man slash Iron Man suit hybrid kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Um,
Iron
and then
Spider.
once the Iron Spider, is that what it's called?
No, no, I called it that.
Hey, that works for me. That's perfect.
Yeah.
The Iron Spider. And then once that happens, and Spider-Man like comes back, he's like, "Whoa, this is super cool." Uh, you know, thanks, Mr. Stark. And then Tony's like, "Friday, send him home." And then there's like this parachute that comes out and immediately like pulls him away off the ship. And I thought like, man, that's so like it's so good. It's just so awesome to have like this relationship between these two characters, and you can see how seriously Tony takes his role as like guardian for Peter.
Yeah.
That even in this situation where he himself could use the help, um, it's more important for him
Hmm.
to protect Peter.
Yeah.
But anyway, thoughts, Chris, on the
Yeah.
the Peter
That
Tony
I
relationship?
think that's a great point because Tony's is always trying to, keep Peter safe. And then so when, something happens at the end, when he actually, loses him, that's when it, hits him a lot harder. And I'll even skip to ahead, in Endgame, when everyone comes back, you know, there's a funny scene when, Peter and Tony were in the car, Tony's like opening up the door for him, and then Peter thought that he was giving him a hug, and then and then Tony was like, "Oh yeah, we're not there yet,"
Yeah.
and then later on, when he's finally back, he gives him a huge hug. So I love that relationship between Peter um and Tony. It's like the mentor and mentee, and I think it's really really good. And I still don't understand why people don't like it. I thought that they did a great job. They didn't make, Spider-Man look, insignificant. Um, yeah, I love it. I really like it.
Yeah. Yep. Me too. I'm right there with you. Okay, so here's another thing that's really funny that kind of it's a smaller comedic motif, but it does come up a couple times, and that is so the Guardians of the Galaxy are in the movie, and they end up picking up Thor because he's just floating out in space after Thanos completely wrecked the Asgardians.
Oh yeah.
Um, so the Guardians pick up Thor, and they've like got him on this like operating room kind of table, um, and they're all kind of like circled around him. Uh, and Drax is like, hmm, or I think Quill says something like who is this dude or something, and Drax is like, he is not a dude. You're a dude.
Yeah.
This is a man,
This is a
a
man.
handsome, muscular man. He's like a pirate had a baby with an angel. And of course, like Quill is like he gets so insecure about this that this guy's got like a deeper voice than he does, and he's got more muscles. And so he's he tries to like bring his voice down and talk in like a deeper, more gravelly voice,
Yeah.
and Rocket calls him out on it. It's really charming and funny, and I think it's perfect for those characters and for Quill to behave in that manner. Like it's just it, this movie like, and this is one example of a whole lot of examples where you have this huge cast of characters that are all coming together, and when they come together and you're like, oh man, what would it be like if Thor was interacting with Quill and the other Guardians of the Galaxy? This is like solid gold, exactly what you would expect to happen. um, and not only is that impressive, like on its own, like having those little moments where it feels like really genuine and very accurate to what you would hope to get with those characters, but it's impressive that they're able to do that with like so many characters. Like, there's a huge, just unimaginably large sized cast of different characters from
Right.
wildly different properties and what have you. So, but anyway, I thought that was I love the Thor and Guardians sort of like mashup. What did you think about that, Chris?
I thought it was fun. I thought because initially I was like, oh, this is kind of this is going to be weird. Like, how are they going to, inject Guardian Guardians with the Avengers, right? Because they all have this like different types of persona and personality, and and the missions that they go on is so different. One's in space, one is on Earth, and well, aside from Thor, he's everywhere, right? So
Sure.
yeah, seeing, Thor hanging out with the Guardians, I thought that was really, really cool. And I gotta say, like, I love the relationship between Thor and Rocket, but we could talk a little bit more about that. But I really love the part where, Rocket and Thor just kind of had a one-on-one, talk, right? And then there was that one line when he was like, when Thor was like, well, Rocket was like, "Are you sure you're gonna do this?" And then Thor's like, I have nothing else left to lose. I've nothing to fear. And at that point, you realize that Thor went through a whole bunch of shit, man. He lost his mother, father, brother, the Asgard and all his friends, and he has nothing left. So it's like really, really awful. And just seeing him and talking to a freaking raccoon is like, wow, that's some really genuine dialogue between Thor and the Guardians, or aka Rocket. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I totally agree with you. This movie could have gone off the rails, but I believe it was the Russo brothers that did
Yep.
this.
Hmm.
um they balanced the crap out of this movie. I thought everyone had a no one was overshadowing anyone else. I Yeah, I mean, kudos to them for being able to make such a great movie with so many A list B you know A-list tier celebrities. And yeah, it's awesome. King says, I think people didn't like it because they're used to Spider-Man being self-sufficient, as opposed to having everything handed to him. All of the star tech given to him steals away from his own brilliance and ingenuity to me, because Peter is a genius and created a lot of his own technology. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why people don't like it, and I think I understand that. And I think they're allowing um two two things to happen simultaneously. One is the whole, you know Peter and Tony giving him all the his tech and everything. But I think they're kind of rewriting this whole history of Spider-Man. I mean, after the No Way Home, after that, I think he has to start depending on himself. So I
Mm-hmm.
think we'll get the best of both worlds on that. You guys, I am so sorry. Like, my sentences are keep getting cut in half because I keep having this like uncontrollable hiccup. So I apologize for that.
No problem, Chris. We
Yeah.
appreciate your toughing it out. You're a trooper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, really good point, King. I hadn't even thought about that, but I can completely understand that perspective. That actually makes a lot of sense. So thank you for sharing that. And then I was going to say one thing in response to you, Chris. Oh, that moment that you talked about with Thor and Rocket, where Thor is like at the end of, at his wits' end, he's like, I got nothing to lose. Um, that moment is like doubly cool, not just for that and for like bringing the sort of gravity of Thor's situation like to the forefront and helping you as the audience to realize like, yeah, oh shit, actually, yeah, this guy really has lost basically everything.
Yeah.
But as he's walking away, the Rocket's still there, and under his breath, Rocket mutters, because Thor has just said like, I got nothing to lose, and Rocket's like, I do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I could
yeah.
lose a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, what's so cool about that is like, again, like the really solid character writing is we get to see through the previous Guardians movies that Rocket is like super tough on the exterior, but he's really fragile and
Yeah,
a super loving and loyal like friend and companion on the inside.
yeah.
And so he loves the Guardians and his teammates. And so obviously it means a lot to him if they could be lost. And he would never
Right.
say that like, publicly. He'd never let them know that. But this is a little moment where it's just him. Thor has already walked away. There's nobody else in the room. And we, the audience, get this little moment where, he kind of lets his guard down a little bit and says this. Like, man, this movie's, they are just hitting on all cylinders here. Like, this is real good.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Thor and the Guardians, all of their stuff is really cool. Oh man, so this thing is awesome. Um, so then we cut back to Earth, and we are hanging out with Wanda and Vision. They at this point, I think they're like basically what they've been doing since we last checked in with them is they are in a relationship together, and they're kind of just in hiding, kind of traveling around Europe, trying to make things work and trying to lay low, basically. And Vision in his head, like the thing that makes Vision Vision, is he has an Infinity Stone. Um, and obviously Thanos and his crew are after the Infinity Stones. And so two of them show up and like sneak attack Wanda and Vision, trying to steal the stone. And King, if you could help, what are the names of those two elf characters? There's like the girl elf and the boy elf. If you know their names, shout out to
Mm,
you if you can type it in the chat, because I'm
I
just gonna
think
call them the elves.
one of them is the midnight something, and oh god, yeah. King, you're up. I
We're
can't
counting on
remember.
you, King.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, they show up and there's this like really. So I've got a lot of things to say about this because I think it's really really smart. They do so many things in this movie that are really smart. In terms of
Proxima
like
and Midnight.
Proxima
Sorry.
Midnight.
Yeah, Proxima
Wait,
and
so is
Midnight
that
is
the
the
name of?
girl.
Okay, that's the
Yeah.
girl
Yeah.
elf character. She's really cool. She
Yeah.
actually has a lot of moments in this movie that are really great.
Yeah.
Um, but they do a lot of really smart things in this, like trying to manage all these like superhero characters, these like enhanced beings with all these crazy superpowers, and still make like a really compelling movie. And this is one of those moments because what happens is there's this sneak attack where we have this lovely moment with Wanda and Vision, and they're just hanging out, and they're kind of like having this cute, romantic couple moment, and then it's immediately interrupted by this giant spear sticking out of Vision, and he's being like lifted up into the sky because these elves have like stabbed him into the back.
Mm.
And it's a pretty serious. I mean, it's a huge, blade coming out of him, and Paul Bettany's like pain reaction is just so visceral. You can like really feel the intensity of that injury. And the reason why, like, one super cool like surprise attack moment. Really smart play for the villains to have attacked Vision in this way. Really smart writing because Vision is. This is something that I complained about in Civil War, is that Vision is so powerful. It, it's they have to like write around him, and we as the audience have to like suspend our disbelief and just be like, we're just gonna forgive them that Vision is off screen right now when he should be doing something because obviously
Yeah.
he's more powerful than all these other characters. So what they fixed that problem here by immediately injuring him so badly that he just can't
Hmm.
fight properly.
Yeah.
and that injury kind of like stays with him through the whole movie. So like we just don't expect Vision to be in action at all in this movie. Um, and they do other things with like trying to get that stone out of his head that also takes him out of action, even like on top of that. Um, so there's never this moment where you're like, well, why don't they just like send Vision in there to like laser beam everything? Because he's out of commission. He's like
Yeah.
just totally out of commission. So anyway, they have this like I think that was really cool, and that's really like this really awesome moment. And they're so Wanda and Vision are fighting. They're on the back foot, like trying to fight these two dark elves, Proxima Midnight, and oh, looks like King has more.
Yeah.
Her lover was the other guy with her, Corvus Glaive. That's also a
Mm-mm-mm.
cool name.
Yeah.
Proxima is pretty cool, but I promise you, if you read her in the comics, you'd be like, man, they nerfed her so hard. Really? So she must have been really powerful in the comics, huh? Um, so Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive are just kicking Wanda and Vision's ass, and they end up in this like this train station, this really like beautiful train station at night. There aren't any people there, and it looks like they're about to kill Vision, and then Cap shows up, and the music in this moment is just amazing. It's like you hear the slow build up of like one of the Avengers themes. I think if you look it up on YouTube, like the Infinity War soundtrack, it's something like "Help Arrives" or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Cap starts fighting, and then Black Widow shows up, and it's just like it's this super awesome heroic moment for these heroes to kind of like
Yeah.
it's a great introduction for Cap. It's a really awesome way to have the Avengers clash with Thanos' crew, have them save Vision, have them reconnect with Vision and
Mm-hmm.
Wanda, and also create this link to like finally reunite the Cap faction with the Stark faction.
All right.
There's just like so much happening there, and I thought it was like so cool. And that moment where they're like in the station, and then there's this dark figure who's showed up to like stop the bad guys, and you're hearing the music, and the hair on the back of my neck stands up like when I.
Yeah.
It's so good. But what would you think of all of that, Chris?
Yeah. That was one of the. I think that's one of the best like moments in the movie. You know, you hear that dun 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 dun. You know, it's like, oh man, and then you see the excuse me, you see the trains, and then you see Proxima and Midnight like looking over there. It's like, what is that? And then Wanda's like, what? What's going on in the back? And then you see like the silhouette, and then come out of shadows like Captain America. I was like, oh damn, you know. And then when she throws that spear, he catches it and shit. Is like, oh shit,
Yeah.
you know, it's so freaking awesome. So yeah, that's one of the best moments in the movie is that. And then man, they just handle the two of them like they're like Thanos level like villains, and they took him out like really fairly simply. So really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, so I also have a plus here for the nowhere scene. That is nowhere is in
Hmm. Hmm.
KNOW where the Guardians go there, and they actually end up fighting Thanos there. Um, there were some things about that like when I originally saw it, I was like, that's kind of dumb. Like Thanos has this like reality stone at this point where he can kind of like create reality or he has some power over reality or the way reality is perceived.
Hmm.
Um, and that seems like powerful enough that I like that they could probably have done way more with that. That would have been just like impossible for any heroes to be able to beat him. Because if you can just manipulate reality at will, I don't know that anybody could do anything. But the cool thing about like Thanos as a character and his villain's mission is he's not like trying to kill people. He doesn't like want to just indiscriminately kill anybody and everybody who gets in his way. He's not like full of like hatred and spite and like, oh, you're trying to stop me, you're gone.
Yeah.
He's more like he sees himself as the tough love parent who all the other kids just don't understand, why they have to, make their bed and eat their, vegetables. Um, and he knows that that means that they're going to resist and they're going to fight back. Um, but he doesn't want to like hurt them, but he does know that there's a great sacrifice that must need to be made, and that
Hmm.
is by
Hmm.
killing half the universe. But it's not personal for him. It's just this is a roll of the dice. Like you may live, you may not, and that's completely independent of his interactions with other people who are not immediately part of that agenda.
Right.
And in this particular case, that's because I had originally thought like, oh man, like why doesn't he just kill Drax? Because he like turns Drax into this like he turns him into a bunch of blocks that kind of fall
Yeah.
apart, and Mantis he turns into like a bunch of strings that unfurl.
Hmm.
It's like, well, what? You could just kill him. Like, why wouldn't you? And that's wise because that's not his deal. That's not what he's trying to do. Um, so problem averted in that scene because Thanos is like has just he's such an interesting villain in that regard. But the reason why I wrote a note here was not because of that. It's because previously Gamora tells Quill that she has special knowledge about the location of one of the Infinity Stones, and she's the only one who knows about it. And Thanos needs that information from her. So if there's ever a situation in which she's been compromised, she makes Quill promise her that he'll kill her to
Mm.
prevent Thanos from getting the Infinity Stone. And this is that moment with Mantis and Drax out of the equation. Thanos captures Gamora, and Gamora is pleading with Quill to kill her. And she's crying and she's saying, "You promised." And Thanos he's actually like, he's playing dad. Like, he's being the dad who's like meeting the daughter's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Um, and he doesn't like Quill. He's like, "You expect way too much of this, of this boy. Like, that he's not going to do it." Um, and Quill and Chris Pratt just acting his ass off. He is so torn and he's just super emotional about it, and he does it. He pulls the trigger, but because Thanos has created this environment, this like fictitious reality, only bubbles come out of the gun, and then the gun
Mm.
disappears, poof, and it turns out that this was all just a fantasy that Thanos had created. But in that moment, Thanos kind of like gets this smile on his face, and it's like, I like him. And then
Yeah.
he teleports away with Gamora, and I was like, man, it was just so good. It's like the acting was great, the setup was incredible, the like twist was awesome, the like the dad, the Thanos dad, Gamora daughter, Quill daughter's boyfriend dynamic was really great and fun. We got both the payoff of Quill actually going through with like making this huge sacrifice to kill the person that he loves more than anybody else in the
Hmm.
universe
Hmm.
in order to save everybody else in the universe. But we still get both those, all those characters like end up being unharmed. So you get like this really powerful dramatic scene. um you get all of the like emotional power points without like actually losing anybody there. So
Right.
yeah, I thought that scene was really awesome. What did you think, Chris?
Yeah, I liked it. I I what was I trying to say? Yeah, it just shows you that Thanos is not really a guy who's just wants to kill everyone, right? He has his own agenda, and as long as you're not trying to f with his agenda, he's probably not going to kill you. He's gonna let the snap decide, whether you exist or don't exist, right? So yeah, I think his leniency in not destroying Mantis or Drax is, like you said, he just makes them inactive, right? And I just gotta say how cool it is to actually be able to control reality like that. I mean, if I had my own reality stone, I would be set for life, man. I just feel like live in my own little fun little
There
world.
you
But
go.
Thanos is much much more of a pragmatist, I guess. He just, he just wants to do what he needs to do and get it done, and it's not for his own sake, but it's for for the benefit of the universe to him, right? And
Right.
so what I'll save this for at the end, but yeah, Infinity War does not suffer from the shitty ass villain syndrome whatsoever. Thanos is probably the best Marvel villain I believe that we have so far here. We'll see about the Kane, and we'll see how he is later on. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. I agree, man. Yeah, this movie's got a really awesome villain. Speaking of which, my very next note, I have the Thanos agenda. And I've got a couple of quotes from him here. I think this is when I think he might be talking with Gamora here or somebody, but he's saying, this universe is finite. Its
Mm,
resources are finite. If
mm,
life goes unchecked, life will cease to exist. And then Gamora screams, you don't know that. And he gets mad, like, I'm the only one who knows that. At
mm,
least I'm the only one with the will to act on it. Uh, Genocide, but random, fair, dispassionate, rich and poor alike. So like this is the way that he, justifies what he's doing. And it's so good. Like there so I think like there are at least three, potentially more. Really there's probably a whole bunch more, but there's at least three buckets that I can fit like most villain motivations into. There's the bucket where the villain's just evil, and so there's
mm,
like anything evil, that's what they're doing. They just kill everything or everybody. There's no real like logic or history behind it. It's like the shark in Jaws.
yeah.
That thing's just eating people. That's all it does, and it's eating like, and not even just to feed and keep itself alive. I think it's just if there's a human being that wants to eat it and kill it.
Mm,
Then the next bucket is the the villain who has like some kind of agenda, but you listen to it and you go like, that's I don't really buy that. Like that, I don't know. That seems like kind of a dumb, illogical way to look at things. But at least there's some kind of reasoning there. And then the final bucket is you have a villain who's got a plan that is very logical, and you can, even if you don't personally agree with it, you can completely see how somebody with different life experiences and a different
mhm.
perspective on the reality in the universe could absolutely arrive at a position where they believe that to their core. And
Yeah.
Thanos fits in that third bucket where
Yeah.
his understanding of reality in the universe, and even we get a little bit later a little bit of the history of like on his own home planet, which just kept growing and growing unchecked, eventually resulted in uh, population collapse and all these economic socioeconomic problems that all of these like pieces of the puzzle have formulated in his brain to fit this vision of the world of the universe really, um, where it makes total sense like why he would arrive at this agenda. And so yeah, I think like Thanos as a villain is he's super cool, and he's got like a really compelling um agenda, which
Yeah.
you can't say for a lot of villains. But thoughts,
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, yeah, and even in like, the spin-off shows like Hawkeye, you see like, Hawkeye drinking from a mug that says Thanos was right. It's like wow, some people actually do agree with, him, and and if you think about it, it's like like on the surface like, oh yeah, the universe resources is finite, but wiping half the population out, that's really fucked up, and even though he thinks it's the right thing to do, it's just like damn, he's that's not good, man. You can't do that. And while I agree that overpopulation is not good, it's just that's not the solution, is to wipe everyone out. It's like, geez, man.
Right.
But yeah, I totally agree. It's the villains who think that they're right and that they actually have some sort of reasoning, and not just like is just, yes, I'm gonna kill, good, I'm gonna kill everything. No, he's not like that. It's the villains that who are like, who make sense, you could understand, and you could kind of see their POV, it's like, okay, I get it. He's wacko, but I could kind of see it. Those are like, in my opinion, like the best type of villains that it's relatable. So I think again, so I think that's Thanos is a good villain. King Cass says, are resources really finite when you can alter reality and turn deadly projectiles into bubbles? That's great question, man. Holy cow.
Yeah, so that's one of the like the,
Huh.
that's kind of what I was talking about earlier when Thanos has this reality stone that can let him like alter the reality like uh, if you've got a vivid enough imagination like King does, you can completely break the story. Like,
Whoa. I didn't even think
right?
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause you can just
Holy
do
cow.
whatever. Like if that's what that stone can do, if it's really capable of altering reality at the beholder's will, then yeah, like this whole thing falls apart. Um, so I forgive it just in the sense that like I don't really know exactly what that stone does. I just assume that it allows you to do some kind of limited amount of reality alteration. But yeah, if King's right, like if he actually can just alter reality at will, then yeah, what's to stop him from creating infinite resources for everybody? And then you don't have to kill everything.
Yeah, it's
So
instead of subtract is you add, right?
yeah,
You add resources instead of subtracting people. Oh shit, I never even thought of that. And
yep.
and
See,
he has all the stones, so he could actually create. I did never thought of that before. Whoa, shit. Oh, that's too
yeah.
bad.
So yeah, I don't know. That's that's definitely a thing that I was like, okay, I'm just gonna suspend my disbelief for you here. I'll just play along. I'll just assume that you can't, for whatever reason,
Oh,
you can't do that with the, or that you can't that the reality stone isn't just like unlimited use. It must have some kind of limitation that would prevent that. Because yeah, otherwise it's like, well, now you're just an asshole, Thanos. Thanos. Now
yeah.
you're just convincing everybody else that your plan is justified when it's not.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
good point, King.
That is such a good point. I mean, he has all the stones, so therefore I mean, if he could
Just do anything.
make yeah, if could make everyone disappear, I'm sure he could like make some loaves of bread for, everyone, right?
Yeah,
Holy cow, I didn't even think about that.
there you go. I mean, or hell, like make it so that organisms are just like self-sufficient and don't need to eat other things or consume
Mm,
resources. And I don't know.
yeah.
Um, okay. Moving on. At this point in the film, the Guardians end up on Titan with Tony and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man.
Mm,
That's where the spaceship that was attacking Earth, but when it left, Ebony Maw had captured Doctor Strange and was taking him back to Titan. They end up killing Ebony Maw
mm.
and end up landing on Titan, and then the Guardians also appear there. But they don't know each other at first, so they kind of like fight with each other, and then eventually realize like, oh wait a minute, you guys are fighting Thanos too? Like, why are we fighting each other, you
Yeah.
idiots? And then they eventually start like trying to work together and come up with like a plan. And Tony obviously it takes charge of the situation. He's like trying to come up with this plan for like when Thanos arrives. Um, and Quill says like, I like your plan, except it sucks. So let me do the plan.
Mm.
And then he starts, trying to come up with a different plan. And I think he also says something in there like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like we don't understand half those words. Like you got to talk English. Um, but having the like interaction between Stark and the Earthlings with the Guardians was a ton of fun. And it's another one of those moments where I feel like that sort of that what if experiment of like, oh, what if these characters and these characters were in the same room? Like
Yeah.
this is exactly what you would expect and hope to see. Um, okay. Next big moment of the movie. Um, Thanos, as we had mentioned previously, captures Gamora. She ends up telling him where to go in order to get the Soul Stone. Soul Stone requires a sacrifice. You have to sacrifice the thing that you love. Um, And it's this interesting moment because Gamora starts laughing at him because it's her belief that he's come all the way to the end of the galaxy or the end of the universe to get this stone, and now he's going to walk away empty-handed because he doesn't love anything.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing for him to sacrifice. But she doesn't realize how much he actually does love her, and despite his like maniacal, villainous agenda, he still very much sees himself as her dad.
Hmm.
Um, and so he's got a tear that he's, that he has shed, and then he ends up throwing her off the the cliff. Um, she dies,
Hmm.
and he wakes up with the Soul Stone. Um, and the note that I wrote here was that this could have been really lame and very melodramatic, but it's actually really good.
Mm.
Not mind blowing, but like pretty damn good, especially for what it is and the fact that it's in like a superhero movie. I was pretty impressed. What did you think about that scene, Chris? How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, again, it brought the humanity into, Thanos. He's not just this grand villain that, was like, oh my God, it's Thanos, but he's actually a person who's brought down to a level. He's like a father. He loves his daughter, and that his goal is is so much more important than the love of his daughter, that he would actually sacrifice her. And that's just like that's really heartbreaking. But at the same time, you could see him kind of suffer through his decisions, and and in order to attain, for him, the greater good was to sacrifice the things that he loves. And that was so sad. And it's just like, it shows that, to me, Thanos is, in his way, a very a non is not is he's not a self-centered person. He is, from his point of view, looking out for the greater good, even if he had to, sacrifice his own one, and or his the daughter that he truly loved. And that sucked. It was really awful.
Yeah, pretty emotional moment there.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so the next thing, now we're getting towards like the end of the movie with the Battle of Wakanda. Uh, and I just have one note here: Ibambe. Um,
Ibombe.
that whole scene, the Battle of Wakanda, is amazing. I love it. I mean it, and it really feels a lot to me. I get like flashbacks of Star Wars Episode One, The Phantom Menace, the final battle in that scene where you've got like all the battle droids fighting
Oh
all the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Gungans.
yeah. Yep.
And they also had like a giant energy shield thing happening in there. Um,
That's right.
but I think the Infinity War one is much better. Granted,
Yeah.
they've had like 20 years on
You sure?
Phantom Menace, so
Sure.
plenty of improvements in technology and storytelling um, know-how. But yeah, the Battle of Wakanda is, man, seeing all those characters in this like huge scale battle, everybody's like just fighting for the universe. Uh, super super cool.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, I loved it. It was a good battle scene. And I'm trying to think. It's been a while. Sorry.
I can give you like quick refresher. So the gist of what's going on in that battle is, um, the Avengers have brought Vision to Wakanda because it's the only place they know of where there's enough technology to try to extract the stone from Vision's head
Right.
and then destroy
Right.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so Vision is on a table up in like a tower in the city, and Shuri's working on him, and I think Wanda's there too, trying to like help stabilize the stone,
Oh,
or
right.
she's needed to destroy the stone because she's the only one who can like create this sort of like magic frequency that is needed to destroy the stone. So they're there. Thanos' crew, Proxima and
Midnight. Yeah.
Glaive, and I think there's somebody else there. I'm not sure. Um, but basically, and I think Proxima is primarily leading the battle, and you
Yeah.
have all these like giant ships that have landed, crash landed, that have these like six-legged, you know, monster creatures that are swarming in mass. There's just
Yeah.
thousands of them trying to get through this giant shield over Wakanda and trying to get in there. And on the battlefield, kind of like waiting and then eventually fighting, is basically everybody else who isn't doing something else in the movie. So you've got um, Black Panther's there and his crew with like Okoye. You've got Bruce. Bruce is there, but not as Hulk. He's actually
Yeah.
in the Hulk Buster armor
Hulkbuster.
because Hulk is
Yeah.
still being an asshole and doesn't want to come out.
Yeah.
You've got Captain America there, Black Widow. I think Hawkeye is there. Falcon. You name it. Like it's basically everybody who's not
Yeah.
already doing something else is there. And then all hell breaks loose when the creatures start getting through the shield and everybody's fighting,
Yeah.
trying to buy Shuri and Vision and Wanda enough time to destroy the stone without killing Vision.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they did a really great job of um having a big war scene. I think Marvel is always good at that. And, they make it dramatic. At the same time, there's a level of funniness, levity to it. And
Mm-hmm.
because I remember Okoye, what she witnessed like the power of Wanda, and she was like, she's up there all this time. Why wasn't she here fighting with us? So yeah,
Yeah, I've got a lot to say about that moment, uh, which we can get to. Or I can talk about it now while you're coughing. Sorry, Chris. Um, Let me see if I can find my note about that. Yeah, Wanda and Wakanda. So, and I've got a plus here. And here are my notes. Shit's going south on the battlefield. Wanda sees it, leaves Vision, goes down to save everybody's ass, and then Okoye is impressed. She's like, "Oh, why was she up there all this time?"
yeah,
Uh, and then and then this is what's really so like that's funny and interesting, and there's like this cool character moment. You're like, yeah, why wasn't she down there helping everybody? And then immediately cut to Proxima saying she's on the field, take it. Immediately cut back to the tower where Wanda was,
yeah.
and we see that Glaive was actually hiding in the shadows the whole time, waiting for the moment when Vision was unprotected, and then he attacks. And you're like,
Mm-mm.
oh shit! Uh, and so it's so cool because you get like a heroic moment, which then goes into a joke, which then goes into a dramatic reversal of fortune, all just like bam, bam, bam. And
Yeah,
it's like, man, that is really good writing.
yeah. Damn, I didn't even think about that. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I was like, uh, I got so excited. I was like,
Yeah,
man, that's so good. I have to
yeah.
pause and write this note.
That's cool. That's cool.
Okay, let's see what else I have in here. Oh, okay. So back in space, the Guardians have split up. Half of them went to Titan, where they've now met with Tony and crew and are planning to come up with some kind of strategy to fight Thanos when he arrives eventually. And the other half of them, Thor, Groot, and Rocket, have left to go try to help Thor get a new weapon because Thor's hammer was destroyed in Thor
Mhm.
Ragnarok. And the only way that he thinks that he's actually going to be able to, really take on Thanos is if he can get a new weapon.
Mm.
And there's only one place where they make those weapons, where there's this like it's almost like a Dyson sphere that's this like big machine in space that's kind of wrapped around a star that uses the power of the star to generate this like celestial forge where these dwarves make these dwarves because they're actually really freaking huge.
Yeah.
Um, where they make weapons for Asgardians, and I assume various other peoples of the universe. But when they get there, they find out Thanos has already beaten them to it. The forge is not running; it's frozen in place,
Mm.
and everybody's been killed except the primary weapon maker. But Thanos has ruined his hands, so he can't
Yeah.
actually um, make weapons anymore, and he's completely distraught, and he's pissed at Thor because he's like, "You were supposed to protect us,"
Yeah.
um, and so everything there is fucked. Uh, but then you get this like really amazing moment where Thor is like, "Okay, what do we got to do here?" Like, okay, and the dwarf character, what's that actor's name from Game of Thrones?
Tyrion
He's amazing.
Lannister.
Yeah, that's the
Peter
character.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage. Good job,
Yeah,
Chris.
yeah,
Um, yeah, Peter Dinklage is he's amazing in
yeah.
everything I've seen him in. But
So
in this,
good.
he's like, okay, well, I've got the materials. We just need to restart the forge, and then if you guys can help me, I think we can make this new weapon, Stormbreaker.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they don't know how to start the forge. Thor is like, I got a crazy idea, and he and Rocket go out there and restart the forge. Um, but there's a problem. There's like this mechanism that won't stay open, and it needs to be open in order to like let this beam of the star through into the forge. So Thor's like, no problem. I'm just gonna hold it open. Um, and uh, Peter Dinklage's character's like, are you sure? You're about to take the full force of a star. It'll
Yeah.
kill you. And Thor goes, only if I die. I was like, well, that's pretty good. Um, so anyway, we have this like really amazing heroic moment where Thor's like holding open this giant Starforge machine, and this like beam of star energy is just powering through him, and you can see he's like
Yeah.
melting, like
Yeah.
his skin is getting burnt and shit. But he holds it open just long enough for them to be able to forge the head of the weapon, but they're still in trouble because they can't. There's no handle. And finally, this is like the moment where Groot gets to step up to the plate, where he
Yeah.
sees what's going on, that his friends are in trouble, and he
Yeah.
uses his like his power of like growing uh, wood elements, and he like grows his arm around these two pieces, connects them, and these are like blazing hot pieces. So he's like burning himself to get these two things together, and then he chops off his own arm, completing the weapon. Just in time because Thor, having taken the full force of the star, he's like about to die. Uh, but now that the weapon's complete, he can call to it and like get his power back. It's just like this really awesome, super heroic moment from all the different characters that are involved in this scene. And that caused me to write this next note, which I was shocked that I wrote, especially considering some of the other things that I've had to say about this character. But
Uh,
the note is Thor is my favorite. I
oh.
think Thor is my favorite MCU hero, um, but only from Ragnarok to Endgame. Because outside of that, Thor, he really sucks. But I feel like in Ragnarok and in this and in Endgame, um, he is a really awesome hero. Like, it just, for a lot of reasons that we could go into another time. But anyway, what were your thoughts, Chris, on that whole Starforge scene?
Well, first, I think this whoever made that Starforge is a shitty designer because, if you had that little tiny little notch that, holds the whole thing open and it breaks, it's like why is it designed that way?
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Anyways,
It was the same guy who engineered the exhaust port on the Death Star.
oh
He got,
yeah,
after
yeah.
that job, he went and built
Yeah,
this.
yeah. But the comment of Thor as to why I think there's a reason why you like him, from Ragnarok is because, before, the Thor 1 and 2, he was so serious, and very, very mellow and kind of an asshole, and it's not he's we're not really relatable to him. But after the Ragnarok, the character became funny. He's relatable. He goes up and down, and he's such a character that we can relate to basically, and he's funny, and it's obviously he's good looking and buff and everything, but I think the character of Thor got so much better after Dark World. I mean, he got so much better in Ragnarok. Became so much more entertaining. So yeah, I agree with you. Like, do is he my favorite character? I still like Tony Stark the best. And then I think Thor would probably be my second favorite.
Wow.
But yeah, I agree. He's really, really good. And yeah, I like the part where Dinklage is like uh when Thor was like, yeah, only if it'll kill me, and then Peter was like, that's what it means. It'll kill you,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, that was
It'll
that
kill
was kind
you
of
only
funny.
if I
Yeah.
die. That's what killing you means.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's really cool. The making of Stormbreaker was really awesome too, and seeing Groot, come grow up a little bit more, because before then Groot was a little bit of an asshole, but finally he stepped up and helped out with the whole storyline and team and everything. So very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets a nice little payoff right there. And then there's another thing that happens right after that that's like this huge, awesome payoff. Um, that like completes the sort of like Thor arc in this movie where even like in Thor Ragnarok, he had already started losing things where like, he lost his hammer, found out that he had a sister, but she's actually evil and she dies, and Asgard gets destroyed and he loses his eye. All of that happens before he even gets to Infinity War, and then in Infinity War, immediately, loses his brother, loses Heimdall. Uh,
Yeah.
his One of his best friends, Bruce, is gone. He's left alone. So he's really, taken some massive L's for a long time at this point.
Yeah.
Finally, here gets Stormbreaker, and then we cut back to Wakanda. Wakanda are getting their asses kicked.
Yeah.
Things are looking real bad, and then this huge bolt of lightning comes down,
So
or
cool.
the Bifrost, and
Yeah.
Thor lands in the middle of like this, big crowd of enemies with like lightning all over the place, and his eyes are like he's like eyes are glowing white with electrical rage. And Bruce gets all excited. He's like, "Oh man, you guys are so screwed now."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it cuts to this reaction shot of Proxima, and she's like, her eyes kind of go wide, and
Yeah.
then Thor's just like flying around, killing the shit out of all these people.
Bring
It's just like,
me
oh man,
Thanos. Yeah.
yeah, it's so good. Um, so yeah, that scene I thought was just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, And then I think we cut from there. We go to the Titan fight with Thanos, where our heroes who are on Titan have been kind of like waiting for Thanos. He shows up, um, and they have like all these like traps and things in place, and Thanos is kind of like stepping into them, but he's also kind of like dismantling them. And like clearly these heroes are pretty outmatched. Like Thanos is really kicking their ass.
Mm.
Um, they do some really clever things, like some smart things with like the way the heroes kind of combine, like work together and combine their powers. So like Doctor Strange is like opening up portals for people to like fly through.
Yeah.
Um, and when they like when the group had like kind of subdued Thanos enough, Doctor Strange opens a portal and Mantis falls through and like drops on top of Thanos and like grabs his head and is, like tells him to sleep, which is like her power, right? Is like being able to control emotions of other characters and also being able to like put her master to sleep. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like, wow, this like little tiny, seemingly, her ability is roughly the equivalent of like a sleeping pill. Like that doesn't seem like much, but then they use it in this moment. You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's actually brilliant.
Yeah.
And because she can detect emotion and like it's a two-way street. Like she can affect motion and she can feel it. She starts like kind of losing control because Thanos is just like so tortured.
Yeah.
Um, it becomes this like really intense moment where the only thing holding this group of heroes together is her hanging on to him, like trying to keep him under.
Mm.
Um, and then and the way that everything goes sideways is so good because at some point because Mantis is like reading his emotions and it's like, oh yeah, he's in a lot of pain, he's mourning, like he's
Mm.
grieving. And like,
Yeah.
what do you have to mourn or grieve about?
Yeah.
And then it is revealed that he's grieving because Gamora is dead,
Yeah.
and Quill fucking loses it. And
Yeah.
Tony's like, "Be cool, be cool. Don't engage. We've almost got this off." Because they're like trying to
Yeah.
pull the glove off, and Quill just can't help himself. And obviously, he gets right in there. Mantis gets knocked off. Thanos comes awake again, and just starts beating the shit out of everybody. Um, it's just so good. Like it's so much better than so much of the writing that's out there in these kind of like big blockbuster action movies where the heroes are fighting the villain and they kind of subdue him, but then he just goes overpowers them, and then that's the end of that.
Yeah.
Here, all of that, it's all tied up in like the different heroes' abilities and what the the drama of what's going on in the story, and the thing that allows him to like come out of that is this really powerful emotional beat that obviously, yes, Quill would have this kind of unhinged reaction to you know to finding out Gamora is dead, like that
Yeah.
Thanos killed her.
Yeah.
um Man, it's so 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 good. But your thoughts, Chris?
He fucked up, man. You know how Doctor Strange is like there's like 14 million and something something in
Mm,
one in
mm.
way there's only one outcome. I don't know, man. If Peter would have just I think Peter had to do that in order for that one to come true, but I don't know. If Peter just kept his hands to himself, I mean, they would have got the glove off his hand. He really fucked up there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it,
Gentleman,
Quill.
Gen Gentleman Heavy says people die if they are killed. Keyword if. I,
Mm.
I forget. I don't know. Which phrase or what he's talking about. So probably talking about something we said earlier.
I think it was the Thor Starforge thing, like only if it kills me,
Oh, oh, oh,
or
oh, oh,
it'll
yeah,
kill you only if I
yeah, yeah.
die.
Oh, if. Yeah, 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 yeah. Good memory.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. Um, that if Quill had just not lost his shit, then maybe things would have
Yeah,
gone completely differently. There was
yeah.
something else though about the Doctor Strange. Um, Actually, maybe I have the note right here. Strange foreshadowing. Here's my note. I'm gonna just read this and then see if I can remember what I was talking about. Strange foreshadowing. Thanos is about to kill Tony. Strange, stop. Spare his life. I'll give you the stone. Strange has seen the future. He knows the one way that they win. Knows Tony has to be alive. So cool. Um, so okay, yeah, now I remember. So in that moment where Strange has like he's seen all these different, versions of the universe, if you've already seen Endgame and you know how that ends, when you watch this, there's a there's a moment, there's like a shot where we get a close up, or maybe it's a medium shot, but there's a focus shot on Doctor Strange while Thanos is fighting Tony, and he's like about to overpower and presumably kill Tony. And that's when Doctor Strange says, "No, no, no, no. I'll give it to you. Just stop."
Mm.
Because Strange knows that Tony's the one who needs to be alive in order for all this to work out. And I was like, "Oh wow, that's really cool."
Yeah.
So I like that. Um, I have a note here: Rocket and Bucky. Oh yeah, so there's this moment
Yeah.
where you remember this one,
Yeah, yeah.
where Rocket and Bucky, the Winter Soldier, meet on the battlefield in Wakanda, and Rocket's like, "Hey man, how much for the gun?" And Bucky's like, "Not for sale. How much for the arm?"
Yeah.
Bucky walks away, and then Rocket's like snickering, "Oh, I'll get that arm."
Yeah, I'll get that R.
Which is pretty good. I love Rocket. He's great.
Yeah. Rocket's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, almost done with my notes here. I've got just a couple more beats. We already talked about the foreshadowing. Okay, so Thanos does end up beating everybody on Titan, and then he teleports to Wakanda, where things are kind of also going to shit. And then I've got a note here where Cap versus Thanos is like a huge plus moment, because there's this moment where Captain America is like single-handedly fighting Thanos and is like able to match Thanos' strength like
Mm,
just for a moment.
hmm.
And it's this really cool heroic moment where you're like, damn, Cap he is on it. Like that dude is
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
Um, so that I thought that was really cool. And then and so and that's part of this Thanos kind of like storming in. He's got all of the stones. He needs just one more. He needs the stone that's in Vision's head. That's the last one that he needs to complete his Infinity Gauntlet. And all of the other Avengers, like a bunch of them are still fighting all of like on the battlefield with all the like creatures, but the key Avengers are kind of starting to take on Thanos and this like smaller scale, more desperate fight. Um, and the thing that's really cool about that is I've got finale, reversal, reversal, reversal as my note, and this is something that's like really really good about or like it's a marker of really good writing when you can have reversals and twists in your finale, because one of the things that makes finales like really exhausting emotionally is seeing the heroes be like put in a situation where it's like, oh no, they're gonna lose. Wait a minute, they came back. They're gonna win. Oh no, this other thing happened and now they're gonna lose. But wait a minute, they thought of something really clever and they came back. Oh, but the bad guy had a secret surprise. And then, oh, this hero from earlier who we thought abandoned them, he came back. You know, you've got
Mm,
these like this crazy back and forth where these things are happening and it's just reversal, 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 where your emotions are going like from elation, excitement, and hopeful to like, oh god, anxious, we're totally fucked, like everything's going bad. And so in this battle with Thanos, you've got like Wanda shows up and she's like a real badass, and she actually beats Thanos because she's trying to like she's like simultaneously trying to destroy Vision's stone without killing him and hold back Thanos. She's doing like two things at the same time,
hmm
and she does it. Like she destroys the stone. We're like, oh, that's it. Our hero's won. Thanos is really powerful. He's got, you know, most of the stones, but he didn't get that one. But Thanos has control of the time for stone, or the stone for time. So he rewinds time. The stone comes back together, gets put back into Vision's head. So that's the reversal. You're like, oh no! And Thanos beats Wanda. But then Thor shows up and he beats Thanos. He gets his like Stormbreaker axe and like shoves it in Thanos's chest and is like
Yeah.
pushing it in, and Thanos is like, like
Yeah.
losing his shit.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, another reversal. You know, back to the good guys winning. But then Thanos does, you know, the infamous now snap,
Yeah.
and this was the moment that I was like, whoa, holy shit. I can't believe they did it. Like, they being the filmmakers, the
Yeah.
storytellers, I can't believe they actually let the bad guy win.
I loved that, man. I
Me
love
too.
that. Like, do you sorry, first of all, we got a new follower. Thank you so much, Cy Frank, for, showing up and, joining our tavern. Really happy to have you, man. Thank you, thank you. Tonight we're just talking about Avenger Infinity War, and we're kind of wrapping up now. But yeah, I love the fact that the villains win. Michael, do you remember a long time ago I asked you, like, narrative wise, is it okay for villains to win? Like you know how in every story of throughout the ages, the outcome is the good guys win. Well, can is it possible to have like a story where, it's the villains that, overcomes and, the good guy loses? How do people how will people accept this type of story? Like, and will it be well received? Will it be successful? I mean, we as a human nature, we like good to triumphant over evil. And once bad guys win, it's like, well, what the hell, you know? And so in this case, this story is a triumphant story for Thanos, right? And it's not a triumphant story for our heroes. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, really good point. And that reminds me of the thing that I would say about this movie. Infinity War to me is the Empire Strikes Back of the MCU.
Yeah,
Empire
sure.
Strikes Back is widely considered to be the best of the Star Wars movies, and it does the same thing. The bad
Mhm.
guys win.
Yeah,
Um, but I would say it's a bad guys win with a caveat. That's not the end of the story, and the bad guys don't completely they achieve their goal, but the good guys aren't like, you know, it's not like he also kills all the Avengers and then that's just the end of that. And then there is no additional movie after that. Um, Or if like the next movie after that was like, okay, now we're in the new universe where half of everybody died, those people are gone, all the Avengers are dead. Now we're going to just tell a new story in this universe, and things just carry on from there. That would be much more ambitious and risky,
Yeah.
and you'd have a kind of like that might leave a really sour taste in people's mouth. It's one thing to like beat your hero down and have them like lose a game, to like get to the championship game and lose. It's another if you have them get to the championship game and then like, a bomb goes off in the locker room and kills everybody and then, roll credits. Um, that would be very unsatisfying. That I think it's the reason that it works in something like Empire Strikes Back and Infinity War is that it's still conveying information about like survival. It's helping to impart the storytelling sort of like mythos of here are the heroic things that you can do in a situation like this to try to overcome evil, but sometimes evil wins and kicks your ass, and you've got to go lick your wounds and come back and try something else. Um, and I think that's an important message, storytelling wise, because it's especially like in the creative industry, right? You don't get everything right on the first try when you're trying to like
Sure.
make a drawing or something. You don't get it right on the first sketch. The first line that you put down isn't like, oh yeah, perfect. That's exactly where that line's going to be
Right.
for the final render. Um, and so it's kind of like a similar thing here, with this type of story where the bad guy wins. I think as long as it's couched in that kind of context where it's like, yes, the bad guys won, dot 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 this time,
Mm.
so that way there's still a doorway or a window that's open to kind of revisit or have like another round. And what's so cool about this one though is there is a large degree of like finality to it where they kill like some major characters like Black Panther, he's gone. Um, uh, Several of the other characters who are not like core Avengers characters get vanished. The heavy hitters, Spider-Man, Quill, like a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
them. Um, and that is ballsy. Like you
Mm.
do not see a lot of movies or stories in general going there and like killing off literally half of the heroes. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
great point. Like I'll hand it back to you, Chris. But that's kind of my thoughts here. And yeah, I think you're spot on. This is one of those movies where you can get away with the bad guys winning.
Yeah. I kind of want to challenge myself that I would love to write a story where the bad guy wins and then the end and then the result is everyone is happy. Like as in the audience is okay, that works.
Ah,
I
got it. Okay.
it's
Not the
like
people in the
no,
world, in
no,
the
no, no.
story world.
Everyone
The
like the
audience is
bad guys.
satisfied.
Yeah, the bad guys subjugated the good guys, and they had their way with them. And then the audience members are like, were like, oh, this is a really good story. It's it wraps everything up. It doesn't feel like it's a middle story, like something else is gonna end or something else is gonna come later to wrap it up. It's it's its own story, and I would love to write a story that, the bad guys win. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. I would love to see if I could do that someday. And hold on. King wrote, he says, I'm late, but we can't talk about Thor and how much he's endured and gone through, but ignore Quill and say he just fucked up. Man lost his mom, met his dad, found out his father intentionally killed his mom, found out that he actually had a dad, and shortly after that, he died to save his life. Then lost a girl he loved, and he failed to her as he promised. You can't expect someone to keep their cool and stay the course. I totally agree. But I would say if Thor was the one that punched Thanos in the face when they were about to take off the gloves, I would say Thor would fucked up too. Anyone who punches Thor in that face at that moment in time, you fucked up because they're about to finish it, man. And King, you made your point, dude. I totally get what we're saying, cause yeah, like Pratt or not Chris Pratt, Star-Lord endured a lot of stuff, even much so. I mean, I don't know who endured more. I mean, Star-Lord and, the Thor both lost a lot of stuff, right? But it doesn't matter. Whoever is in front of, you know, they almost got the thing off, and then he fucked up, man. I can't say that. He screwed it up, man. Yeah. Anyways, but good point. Good point. Good point. Heavy says, so a grim, dark story, kind of like most Warhammer stories. I don't know any Warhammer stories at all. So I guess I should take a research and see how they do it. Because yeah, I'm always interested in seeing how, like, what if the villains win in the end, and would people be okay with that? Probably not, but
Yeah, I'd be real curious to see how to do that and not leave people feeling depressed, because I think the reason that almost all stories end in a happy ending with the heroes winning is because at its most primal level, story is supposed to teach you vicariously without having to actually live the experience, supposed to teach you how to survive something. And so if you tell a story where the heroes do the heroic things that are supposed to work and they don't, and everybody dies and the bad guys win, and like the end, what have you taught the audience about survival? Potentially nothing. You might
right.
tell them like, hey, the story or the lesson might be nihilism, that like, well,
Yeah.
nothing matters, why try, just give up.
Mm.
um that's gonna really make people not feel very good.
Yeah.
um
Or make
so
good people feel very. If you're like an evil person, you'll probably be like, yeah, that's my kind of movie. It's like,
yeah,
yes, yeah,
yeah, if you're already like a nihilist, or
yeah.
anarchist, or somebody who really wants to watch the world burn and thinks that nothing is fair already, then yeah, you might feel vindicated.
Mm, mm,
Certainly possible. But yeah, I think that this movie, to the best of my knowledge, is the most successful version of what you're talking about, Chris. But I
right.
think what you're talking about is even more extreme
Mm.
than this movie, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. King says, but even if they did get it off, Thanos would have just killed them. Uh, this man, this man went hand to hand against the Hulk, that's true, and beat him without using any of the stones to amp him up. That is true. That is very true. Uh, but
Yeah,
but
excellent point.
I will say there's like a whole bunch of more of them than just one Hulk, right? I'm curious. I'm curious. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
really
well,
good
like
that's
what
a really
would
good point.
happen if you had like all of the heroes fighting Thanos at the same time without a gauntlet?
Without,
They could
yeah, yeah.
they could probably take him.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think. I mean, if it was just, that point where it says, all that for a drop of blood.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
that moment's so cool.
yeah, that, yeah, that's very cool. Sorry, I
Especially
was,
because
yep,
like in that's like right around the moment that I was talking about earlier, where Tony's suit is like starting to fail and he's like redirecting resources to like
yep,
and he's just wailing on Thanos, like throwing everything he has at him.
yeah,
And that's what happens. Like it's a
yeah,
little bit of a split cheek, and then it's like, oh, just
yeah,
a single
and
drop of blood.
and to King's point, I don't think it was the gauntlet that made him strong. I think Thanos is just strong by nature. I mean, his tissue density is so crazy dense and high that
Yeah.
that you go whoosh, it doesn't really hurt him at all. Because yeah, Tony like made his arm into like a freaking like a stomping thingy. I don't know. It's like an iron fist or something. It hit him,
Oh
and
yeah.
he was okay. It was crazy, man. So yeah, good point, King.
All right. I think we're just about done here. I got a couple last notes. Um, oh, I actually this is a negative. I put Finelli cringe dialogue. Ah, yes, I didn't like this part. So there's a moment after Thanos has snapped his fingers, he ends up in this in I don't know if it's like a dream state or something. It
Oh
reminds me
yeah,
of like the part in for those Zelda fans out there, in Ocarina of Time when you're in the water temple, there's a door that you go through and you end up out in this plane of water with like a mist in the distance, and you're completely surrounded by this. The scene where you fight Dark Link. Um, th- Thanos ends up in a place that is very similar in theming to that location. And child Gamora is there, and he has a conversation with her, and she says, "Did you do it?" And he says, "Yes." She says, "What did it cost?" And he says, "Everything." And that just made me cringe. I was like, ugh, who talks like that? Like, especially a little kid. Like, nobody would set up, because obviously they wanted him to be able to say that it cost everything, but asking somebody like if they did a thing, you wouldn't say like what did it cost? If somebody like, unless that thing that they did was like, buying a pizza or buying a cake or something, then you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say." Like, "Well, how much did the pizza cost?"
Hmm.
But if somebody's like, "Hey, did you I don't know, did you win the spelling bee?" "Yeah." "What did it cost?" Like, nobody would say anything like that's just weird, cringy dialogue. I didn't like it, but I understand they were trying to go for this moment where, you know, trying to be clever about the him saying that it cost him everything.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I don't know. Did that bother you at all, Chris, or did
No,
you even remember that?
no, I remember it, but it didn't bother me. It just again showed me the sense of sacrifice that he had to do in order for the greater good to to him, you know. It cost him
Yeah.
his daughter.
And then the last two notes that I have here, the first one is just Thanos wins, and my note just says, "Holy fucking shit." Um, because yeah, it was when that first happened, I was spellbound. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Um, Amazing.
Yeah.
And then
And it ended on him like being happy, like looking into sunset, and it was like his triumphant story, and
he did it.
it was he did it. You know, the end, you know. And everything's all right in the world. Everything's all balanced, and you know, it's good according to
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
And I have another one of those holy fucking shit, I can't believe they did it moments when we get to Endgame. I'll tell you all about that one, but you can
Uh-huh,
probably
uh-huh.
guess what that one is. But my final note for Infinity War was a positive, and that was at the end of the movie. For most of the movies, it'll say something like, the Avengers will return or Thor will return. In this one, it says Thanos will return. It's like,
Uh,
whoa,
yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's those are all my notes, all my thoughts on Infinity War. You had mentioned you wrote down some notes, Chris. Did we get to them already, or
Yeah, I mean,
you got a
hold on,
couple of stragglers?
let me see. I said, I commend Marvel on how they're able to tie up all the individual characters into one movie. 'Cause that's just really, really hard to do. Cause everyone, you know, every character in here is, you know, important to us, and they were so good at balancing that. We talked about that a little bit.
Totally.
And a sub point is one of my favorite IPs is Mortal Kombat, and
Hmm.
they just came out with a new movie like a year or so ago, and boy, did I really think they fucked that up. I really wish that they would have taken the MCU route where they, you know, concentrate on one character like Liu Kang, you know, the movie, Sub-Zero, the movie, and then do like 8 movies of all individual characters and then come together in this tournament called Mortal Kombat that features all of them together, very much like Infinity War. Why can't you guys do that? And I think I know why. It's because of the budget, and you know these movies
Mm-hmm.
is hard, and Mortal Kombat is not as a popular IP as Marvel, I guess. I don't know. Um, so that just made me a little bit bitter. It's like, come on, man, why couldn't Mortal Kombat do what Marvel did? I'm sorry, Michael, you want to say something?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna agree with you, but also like complain about like why can't it be different? Is you're absolutely right. The reason why it didn't work out that way is for budgeting reasons. The studio,
Yeah.
I'm sure, was just had not enough confidence to say like, oh yeah, we can go ahead and line up an 8 movie franchise here and get a bunch of money allocated for it. Um, so that's exactly why that didn't happen. So there was probably the filmmakers themselves were like at some point realized we can't make any more movies, so just try to cram in as much stuff as possible because we only get one shot at this. Um,
Well,
But
I mean,
oh, go
go
ahead.
go. No, you go. Go.
I'll just finish my thought. But I don't understand why the studios have to do it that way. When if you have somebody who's like really passionate about, and if you're making one of these things, like the person who's running it should be really passionate about it. So this like shouldn't be an issue. But if you tell that person like, hey, if you want to do this bigger thing, no problem, but we're gonna have to like reduce the budget. So make a smaller scale movie, which is perfect if you're doing just like a one-off story. Like, let's just tell the Liu Kang story. You
Yeah,
don't need a massive like endgame budget for that story. Do that one, just put a lot of heart into it, make it really good. And then when that one is successful, and if you have a low budget, it's easier to hit the threshold of like, oh hey, it made money. Then you can make another one, same sort of thing. Maybe throw a little bit more money at it, but you don't come in DC style like guns a blazing, like all right, we're gonna start with a huge budget with all the heroes in it, and then hopefully that's successful. Because if it isn't, then the whole thing is gonna fall apart. Um,
you're talking about the
that's a
monster
recipe for
universe, right?
disaster. Yeah, well, yeah, that's definitely that is part of I think what happened with
Yeah.
Dark Universe. But you were gonna say something, Chris. You got kind of
Yeah,
fired up for a
yeah.
second there.
Cause when they did Iron Man, they didn't have a plan to make that into a MCU. You know, they just made one, and they're like, oh, well, let's just see how this does. You know, and why can't I don't know who owns Mortal Kombat. Why can't Mortal Kombat do? Let's do one movie, Sub-Zero. Let's make it as cool as we can, and then if it spins off, people love it, then we'll do another one, and then we'll do another one, and then we'll do another one. Why not do it that way instead of making like one movie and it's so hollow. The new Mortal Kombat movie to me was so hollow, and I wish that they would have taken that route of, one character at a time, and it would make so much sense. Like start off with like Johnny Cage or something, a movie star
Oh
getting
yeah.
inducted into this world of Mortal Kombat, and it's like what's going on, and then after his movie is done, then we turn to Liu Kang, and then Liu Kang befriends Johnny Cage, and then they go off on their own little story. Anyways, so I'm bitter about that.
Practically
That's
writes itself. Like, how did they
yeah,
whiff that one?
yeah. So the next note I have is the first time in a long time that villains actually wins. Interesting thought question. Does this work for a narrative? Can we allow evil to achieve their goal? And yeah, that's basically what I'm saying is like, is it possible? And Heavy says the first 40K story that comes to mind that best suits the villain winning scenario is Dead Man Walking by Steve uh Lyons
I think
Lyons
it's Lions,
Steve Lyons.
like the
10 out of
animal.
Steve Lyons, 10 out of 10 in my book. Yeah, that's cool. And another note I have is Thanos is good. Interesting backstory. Had to sacrifice his daughter to achieve the greater good. Fun seeing all the characters meet each other. Yeah, for me is I always love seeing um, the chemistry between characters you never would have seen in a movie together because they're in two different parts of the freaking universe, right? um, yeah, for example, the Iron Man with the Guardians, that little scene is like, if if uh if you don't let my man go, I'm gonna blow his brains out, and then Drax is like, I can take it, do it, and then Mantis is like, no, you can't do it. I think that's fun. Um, yeah, Thor's journey, he loses everything. He has a great dialogue between Rocket. So that was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Oh, by the way, Red Skull. No one
Mm.
knew this. I was like the only one. Even no one told me this, but I was in a meeting once, and then one of the directors of what I don't remember, but I was in a meeting and some guy brought up the Red Skull, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we can't use him because," and then that guy stopped. He stopped himself from saying what was about to happen, but I was like, "Ooh." He said Red Skull, and then he didn't say anything else, and then and I knew he was gonna show up in some other movie or something. So Red Skull was really cool. Huh. And that's it. And
Cool. No, those are good notes, man.
yeah, thanks. King Cass says, I don't think a lot of I don't think a lot of Mortal Kombat characters are very interesting or marketable outside of Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Liu Kang, and for the Earthrealm humans. The most you see on them is them on Earth doing other stuff. Well, Liu Kang, Earthrealm adventures could be cool, I think, but I do think the Mortal Kombat could have done better. Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything that you said, man. I mean, start small. Start small. It doesn't have to be super, super crazy. You know, even the 1992, 95. I think it's 95, 1994, 95. The first Mortal Kombat movie was very simple. It was just people fighting, and I thought that movie was so much more cohesive than the one that was presented. I mean, who the fuck is Cole? Who's Cole Young? What? I don't give a shit about him. He's not part of the Mortal Kombat mythos. It's like, come on, don't just make up a character. It doesn't make sense. Anyways, sorry, I'm very bitter about it. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you, King.
I hard disagree, actually.
Ah,
I think that you can. I think a lot of the Mortal Kombat characters could be really interesting, and and could be very marketable. And I brought this up before. I think I brought this up when we talked about Iron Man. Prior to Iron Man
oh, that's right.
becoming, this huge success, he was
Mm,
not a very marketable
yeah,
superhero in Marvel's lineup. He was like
right. Like a
B
D
tier
tier. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
for Marvel characters. Like everybody knew who Spider-Man was,
yeah.
and the X-Men even, but like Iron Man was like pretty low down on the
Mhm.
list. Now he is like,
The man.
the face of Marvel.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't think the Mortal Kombat characters are anywhere near as compelling or interesting as
Hmm.
most of the Marvel characters, though the ones that you bring up, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, those guys obviously are, they're practically Marvel level heroes
Yeah.
themselves. I think if the story is good enough and you
Yeah.
have somebody who really cares about making an interesting version of the characters, I think
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
do it. Um, and
There's a
and
there's an opportunity there. That I mean, that's the reason why we have a movie storytelling. Sonya Blade, a commander, leading the army alongside with Jax, who has two freaking bionic arms. Kitana, daughter of the princess of Outworld, and alongside her, twin evil sister Melina. Oh my gosh, I would love to see some stuff like that, man. Yeah, and a good point about Iron Man, because yeah, he was like a BCD tier. No one really knew him at all until that movie came out, and he just exploded.
yeah, so the same thing I think you could say with the Guardians. Like nobody knew like who the hell the Guardians of the Galaxy were.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was like even lower, like deeper in the back catalog of Marvel stuff. That was just like completely random. Um, but now everybody loves the Guardians. So yeah, I think you can take characters that may seem on the surface to be like uninteresting and not really marketable, but if you can really get under their skin and really give them the attention that they need and give them their own kind of like very interesting story. And the other thing too with like Mortal Kombat is I think there is a market there, and there's like an underserved market base for the sort of like kung fu type movie, right?
Mm, mm.
Because you do have like these big superhero blockbuster action movies. You've got James Bond and the Bourne movies, that the
Yeah,
spy thrillers and Mission Impossible, those are totally covered. But if you want to get like a good fighting movie, like a really well choreographed kung fu style movie,
yeah,
those don't come around very often. And maybe
yeah.
the market for those is much smaller than something
Sure.
like Avengers, but that just adjust the budget and the
Hmm,
scale
hmm.
and the scope of the project to match.
Yeah,
But you could still do it and like do something awesome that those fans would be more than happy to show up and throw their money at.
yeah.
So
As
yeah,
long as the
huge
story
missed
is good.
opportunity with. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And Mortal Kombat, I think they could have gotten a lot of juice out of that squeeze, but
yeah.
oh well.
Too bad. Sorry.
Sure, I'm gonna read what King has said here. He says, like you can start off with a Sub-Zero movie. His antagonist is Scorpion. He kills him, and at the end, you see Scorpion return from hell. I like it already.
Yeah,
Second movie, Scorpion is getting his revenge. Scorpion kills him and Zero's younger brother, and is now given the mantle and swears to get revenge in Mortal Kombat. Yeah, that's just right there, King. You should
Yeah,
you should be on their story development team.
yeah, one first and second movie right there.
And then he says, "Yeah, a Sonya Blade movie would be more action flicked with guns and stuff ablazing.
Fuck
But
yeah.
then you get to MK, and it turns into a mostly hand-to-hand fight. I feel like the two movies would be so different from guns to martial arts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could like do some genre blending within things, where some movies are a little bit more focused on the sort of like kung fu style.
Yeah, like John
You know,
Wick almost.
yeah, 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 yeah. Man, that's good pull. That's a
Yeah,
really good reference,
excuse
Chris.
me.
And those movies made a shit ton of money. People like, man, yeah. Now I'm pissed. Now I'm mad at the studios for not making Mortal Kombat. And I'm not even as big a Mortal Kombat fan as you are. Now I'm mad that they didn't. It's just a wasted opportunity.
It really was a waste. I did not like it. I did not like it at all. Okay, so Michael, where do you place
Ranking. Do I?
this?
Do you want to take a guess? Do I even have to say? Do you know where
I
this
think
goes?
I think this goes right here. It's your
Yep.
S above everything else.
Absolute top of S tier.
Nice. And do you want to guess where I'm gonna put it? Excuse me.
I think
Man.
also S tier, but I think maybe not as high as me. I think S tier, but behind Civil War. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's
Yep. Yep.
okay. Great. There you
Absolutely.
go.
Yep. Yep. Wow. You know me very well.
From here on out, Chris is gonna do my rankings and get them right, and I'm gonna do his.
Oh, excuse me. Oh man, my
No
hiccups are
problem.
back.
All right, now for the fun part.
Uh,
Audience scores.
King Cass says, did we already do Winter Soldier? Did I miss Winter Soldier? Yeah,
Yes, we did Winter Soldier, and Chris is gonna show you here where that one landed for us.
for
So
for me, Winter Soldier landed at a B tier right here, and for Michael, it landed for him in the A tier right here.
I really like Winter Soldier. I think it's
Yeah.
great,
Mhm.
especially because I'm a big fan of like Mission Impossible movies, spy espionage type stuff, and that movie has got that in spades. But
Yeah.
what did you think, King? Is that one of your favorites?
Yeah. Where 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 would you rank it, King? Uh,
And for anybody else who's watching, what we're going to do now is we have also pulled the rankings for Rotten Tomatoes critics and Rotten Tomatoes audience scores. And Chris is going to predict both of those. And if you'd like to predict in the chat, please jump in with what you think, and we'll see if you get it.
King Cass says he rates uh Winter Soldier as S tier, baby. Boo 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 boo.
Wow, super high praise.
Yeah, man.
It's a good one. It's real good.
Yeah, really good. All right.
What's your guess,
Um,
Chris?
so I think audience gives it a S, and critics will give it an A. Final answer.
And then King says I put Infinity War at S as well.
Nice.
Uh, this was surprising to me.
Oh no.
You might
Oh
be
gee.
surprised too.
Oh geez. Hold on. Do I have to do this?
Doo, doo, doo.
Oh, oh
So
God.
the critics ranking is A tier.
Oh, okay. So I was right.
And do you want to guess where it goes in A tier?
Um,
I think it's pretty shocking, really, but we'll see.
r really.
Well, eventually it'll be shocking because there are other movies that we need to get to. And I'm like, wow, really?
I
That's where
think
Infinity
it's
War goes relative to that movie, huh?
I think it's Winter Soldier. Beneath Winter Soldier.
Uh, yes, but a little bit lower.
Oh wow. Uh, behind Doctor Strange?
Yep.
No way. That is so weird.
Yeah, and ahead of Guardians.
That is so weird.
Yeah, I think it's a little weird too. I would have expected this to be higher in A tier. Like, I could understand it being behind Civil War,
Yeah.
and close to Captain America. But yeah, I thought for sure it would have been ahead of Doctor Strange, but I guess not.
Yeah.
All right, audience score
S.
for Infinity War is A tier.
A. Oh,
Yep,
jeez.
they also put it in A tier. And where do you think it goes?
Ahead of Guardians, but not
No,
ahead. Oh, wow. Ahead of Captain America?
no.
Whoa! Behind Guardians?
Uh, Guardians is in front of it, but it's not directly in front.
Oh God. Is it at the end? Wait, is that
Very
the
bottom.
end? Oh my
Yep,
gosh.
behind it, Original Avengers. Yeah,
Wow. That's
shocking, right?
crazy. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. Like both the critics and the audience score here really surprises me because I think this movie is phenomenal. Like it's so good as a movie. It's so good as a superhero movie. It's incredible as a blockbuster movie. And when
Yeah.
it came out, like I know it was a phenomenon. And this movie was so successful and so good that it set up Endgame to be this like global moment where well, one of my favorite things to do is to watch the on YouTube they have like live theatrical audience reactions of the finale scene of Endgame, and people are just losing their shit in there.
Mm.
It's the part where like Cap is like Avengers assemble and all the portals and shit are happening, and
Yeah.
people are just screaming and throwing popcorn and like you know the amount of energy in the theater feels like it's going to make the roof fly off. And I think that's partially because Endgame is so good, but it's also partially because Infinity War was so good that it set
Mm.
up Endgame
Mm-hmm.
to have this, this place on the stage. So
Yeah.
I'm really surprised. I mean, A is very respectable,
Sh
but
Sure.
I'm really surprised that this wasn't the top of A or in S tier for either of these groups.
So what? The audience doesn't like anything like S tier? What's going on?
So yeah, so this is the thing that was like really weird about the audience scores that I've kind of like been teasing a couple of times, but haven't really been able to without like spoiling the fun of like letting you guys guess. The audience has at least there's one movie that they really love and one movie that they really hate, and both of them the scores are so much higher and so much lower than everything else that basically all the other movies get pushed into the middle.
Uh,
So at this
Interesting.
point, you basically have to guess which is the one movie that the audience puts in S tier and the one movie that they put in F tier.
Yeah.
Everything else goes in the middle,
Right. Interesting. Well,
and it's real surprising. I thought.
yeah. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of movies, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it's coming together. We've done a lot here.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so that's it for MCU. Should we take a look at some artwork?
Yeah, let's take a look at some artwork, guys. Thank you guys for being patient with my stu stupid cold and hiccups and everything.
And feel free if you're hanging out in the chat and you've got some art you want to share with us, go ahead and post it to the Discord now, and we will take a look.
Yeah.
And if we don't get to it tonight, if you don't have it ready or you think of it later, we'll take a look at it next Sunday. Ooh, cool! We got a jack-o'-lantern.
We got a jack-o'-lantern here tonight.
Awesome!
Uh,
I
it's
love
by
jack-o'-lantern
Agent Coat.
carving.
I've never carved a pumpkin in my life before, Michael.
What?
Yeah, I
Holy shit,
never
dude.
I've never carved a pumpkin.
Oh
Is it hard?
man. Yes, it's way harder than you would think. Like seeing other people do it, it's one of the things you're like, oh, that seems like pretty easy. But you have to like it, give you an example. When you take the pumpkin and you need to like empty it out,
Hmm.
the lid that you need to cut, you would think that like, okay, I'm just gonna stick the knife in straight down, cut. If you do that, then the lid will fall in. So you have to cut
Oh.
at this like angle and do this kind of a
Oh.
thing. So that
Uh-huh.
way you
Uh-huh.
create this like wedge shape.
Sure.
As a
Sure.
little kid, like I didn't know that, so like my
Yeah.
first one was totally
Bloop.
screwed, and then my dad had to teach me like, oh no, you do it in the side. I'm like, oh, okay, got it.
Nice.
And there's a lot of other things like if you carve like a really intricate pumpkin, you gotta like make sure there's enough structure. Like
Sure.
if you're, the space between the eyes and the nose, if you make it too thin, then it'll break, and then you've got like an
Uh,
one giant eye nose hole, and yeah,
yeah.
so it, it's it's not impossible. And there are like tricks that you can do to make these really intricate designs. Um, but it's not like a walk in the park. It's not a piece of cake. It does take some practice to
Right, right, right.
to do. But it's really fun. And you should give it a chance if you can
Yeah.
at some point. Especially the like scooping out all the crap inside the pumpkin. It's nasty, man. It's
Oh,
like
is it really?
gooey and slimy, and it's wonderful. It's so fun.
But can't you use that to make like pumpkin pie or something?
Yeah. So you could
Okay.
like if you want to be uh if you don't want to waste, then yeah, you can scoop all that stuff out of there, and then you can separate the seeds, and you can like toast those or roast them, and then you can
Sure.
like eat the seeds, and then the insides and stuff you can put that in a pie. Um, which yeah, it's really good. Pumpkin pie is
Mm,
amazing,
mm.
but
Nice. Nice. Well,
hard to
awesome.
recycle the jack-o'-lantern though, because when you carve it and then you put it outside,
It rots, right?
it yeah, it rots to a point where it's like, let's not eat that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
this is cool. Good
Yeah.
job.
Thank you, Agent Goat. That was
Love
awesome.
it. Ooh.
June has posted today or whenever she yeah, today. Today she says happy birthday to my baby boy. This is
Oh,
her cat. It's so cute.
man, that's lovely painting too.
Yeah, she's so talented. And this is June right here.
Oh,
Yeah. He
the
looks
cat does not look happy to be
Yeah, I know.
taken a picture.
Yeah, he's so grumpy looking, but it's cute. Oh man.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Oh man, she's so
Did the
talented.
cat paint that one, June?
Very cute.
Yeah, I love it. Oh,
Yeah, June, you're so talented. Oh man.
yeah,
Ah,
good
very
work.
pretty. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, June, for sharing. This is really beautiful. Really cute.
Yeah, love it.
I love the brushwork and everything. So
Hmm.
nice. And
Oh
then we
man,
have
gentleman heavy.
oh god. All right, I gotta open this up like the big version
And
so I
these
could actually see it.
gentlemen, I gotta tell you, man, like these are getting to the point where it's starting to look like these are actually coming off of like the set of a movie. You've got the background in there, the like lighting and the details. Like this is really impressive.
Sorry, Heavy. I'm opening them up so that we could all see it in the big.
Always coming through with these like really cool detailed miniatures.
Yeah,
Oh
man.
man. Oh yeah, this is great. Thanks for making
Look.
them bigger, Chris, because
Yeah,
now we
yeah,
can
yeah.
we can really get in there and see those details.
God, look at that. That was badass.
I love the aging, the like at the edges you can see the sort of
Mm-mm-mm.
shiny parts of the metal where the uh, paint or anodized parts have been like worn away.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
cool.
So good.
Blast marks and stuff. Love it.
Look at the tires and everything. The details, the blast marks.
How
Even that. That's awesome.
oh yeah, you're right. I was just gonna ask, like, I don't know if you're still hanging out in the chat there, gentlemen, but and maybe I've asked this before, maybe we've asked this before, but generally how long does it take to like paint one of these? Like how long did it take to make this tank here? He
Uh,
says, yee yee, I took my time working it over the 1,000 years of Warlock. Oh yeah, there you go.
wow.
Oh, Leidos is here.
Hey, Leidos, how are
He says,
you?
kick-ass work.
Yeah, man. Uh,
Yeah, very curious to know like how long one of these things takes. And if it's like multiple sessions, do you just, you know, pick a Saturday afternoon and just bang one out, or is this something you do like an hour a night for
yeah,
a month or something? I
yeah.
have like no idea.
Look at the backpack.
Even the
It's
backpack, yeah,
yeah, man.
it's incredible.
Leidos says, "Good, been lurking." Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Leidos.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was playing
Glad to have you.
I was playing Overwatch with Leidos this morning, and
Oh,
we won
cool.
both games, quick play, and
Yeah.
yeah, he's getting so good with the healings with Moira. Uh,
Good job, guys.
yeah, Heavy, good job, man. This
Yeah.
your stuff is so impressive looking, dude.
I want to
And then we
see
got
Heavy's models in like a stop motion film now.
oh yeah, that would be fun.
No pressure,
Look at
Heavy, but you know, that would be cool.
look at these guys. Damn,
Yeah, these are awesome too.
look at all that detail. Excuse me.
Man, can you imagine if like uh when you bought like a board game and there were like little pieces if they were like this badass?
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
cool.
so yeah, that gun right, yeah, that piece that you were hovering over right there, is that like actually illuminated, or is that like a clear acrylic that has some translucency and the light's actually passing through it, or is that some kind of like painting effect?
I,
Because that's
I,
cool.
yeah, it's very cool. I want to say it's acrylic.
Gotcha.
I think I don't know, but I don't. Well,
Yeah, hard to tell,
oh,
huh?
yeah, it really is. I mean, I don't know if he actually painted on the highlights.
Wow, he says that is just a really good painting effect. Damn,
Wow,
son,
damn.
that's impressive.
You tricked me. I like it. Good job, dude. Awesome work, man. Heavy says
Yeah.
I don't know if it's acrylic or not. But man, good job, dude. Look at the face detail.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's even got some
Oh,
like facial
oh shit. Oh shit.
radiation.
Yeah. Amazing work, dude. Amazing work, Heavy. A- As always.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Right. And King Cat. Excuse
Ooh,
me.
cool.
King Cass. This was done by uh Erdmaster.
So
Very
is this
cool.
like a Magneto
It's so cute. It's a little
version of Kirby?
Magneto.
It's like a hyper evil Magneto
It's
or
an
something. Or
onslaught.
maybe it's a
It's
character.
a
Oh,
fusion. It's like
Onslaught
a
Kirby.
onslaught Kirby. Yeah.
Is so is Onslaught like what is Onslaught? I'm unfamiliar. Is that like a
Uh,
Magneto variant or something? Or not sure.
yeah. I have no idea.
King, if you're here, please educate us
Yeah.
about Onslaught. Who is that? What is that? Still looks cool. I love these things. These
Yeah. Herb is
Kirby's.
really good at drawing these little guys.
King says Onslaught is like the combined evil conscience of Magneto and Xavier. Wow, that's awesome.
Oh my
That's a really cool
gosh.
idea. Evil psionic entity.
Holy
Neato.
cow. Jeez, man.
Must be a really powerful character.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Xavier and Magneto separately are crazy powerful. So combine them into one thing, like holy smokes.
Yeah. Heavy says it's calling itself a water-based formula, so I guess it's watercolor. Oh, okay, okay.
Wow.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight and sharing your amazing work. This is really, really good. Really appreciate
Yeah.
you, excuse me, hanging out with us. And again, enduring with my stupid hic hiccups and coughing and whatnot. Hopefully, I will get back into my normal state of health very soon. And yeah, sorry, I'm trying to
I was
suppress my
just gonna
cough right
say,
now.
on behalf of myself and everybody here, Chris, thank you for powering through
Yeah.
the coughing and the hiccups and being on the mend from having been sick.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for hanging out. And hopefully you guys didn't hear much of the coughing because I try to like mute everything. But yeah, enjoyed your discussion or your reviews, man. Is very very in depth and yeah, I love listening to you talk about, story elements and what makes you excited and why you don't like why you don't like something and it's very 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 educational. So, yeah. Very, very, very,
Thanks, man.
oh God, very happy that you've taken this time to put all these notes down onto paper.
Absolutely. And
Oh
I
God.
think next time we'll talk about, I think Ant-Man and Wasp is the next one. Is
Yeah,
that right?
Ant-Man and Wasp, and then Miss or
Captain
Captain
Marvel
Marvel, which is
and then Endgame.
yeah.
You don't sound too excited, Chris.
Uh, I'm all for female heroines.
Hmm.
If oh God, jeez, I can't. If it
Hiccups
were all
really want to be part of the stream tonight.
yeah, if it were up to me, I would have all my heroes be women. But the way like Captain Marvel did it, I didn't I wasn't that big of a fan of that movie. It was a good movie, but it was like, oh, okay, um, you know, it was okay.
Yeah,
Oh God.
I'm like halfway through rewatching Captain Marvel, and I'm making notes as I go. Yeah, I have some things to say about that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Oh, we'll
that'll
save it.
be
We'll
interesting.
save it.
That'll be an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
discussion and stream.
yeah, yeah,
Stay tuned.
yeah. Stay tuned. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Obviously you could find me here, and then you could find Michael here as well. And don't forget to please check out our survey and let us know what you think, guys. All right. Um, I think we're gonna call it a night. I'm like super tired and I don't want to rate. Oh, excuse me. I don't want to rate out tonight. So, thank you guys for being here and hanging out with us. And yeah, you could obviously follow me at twitch.tv Lead Design Studio, which if I feel better, I will do a stream on Tuesday. If not, then I may have to skip it because I can't do this for a very long time. So, Michael, where can they find you, good sir?
Uh, nope, Chris nailed it. You could use that link.
Mm,
Otherwise, I do have a book available, Blockbuster Blueprint. If you really enjoyed the discussion about the Marvel stuff tonight and you want to read more about my thoughts on storytelling, you can check that out at Amazon. Kindle version paperback is available. Audio version TBD in the future. Stay tuned for that. Otherwise, the
yeah.
best place to find me is right here on the Creative Tavern every Wednesday and Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific. How? Why have I forgotten this? 7, right?
Yeah, 7 p.m.
Okay.
Pacific Standard Time. Yeah.
I've said it a million times and we've never changed the time, and now I'm like 7.
Yeah.
So
Well, no,
Wednesday and Sunday.
it's 9 over there for you, so that's why.
Correct. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
always
uh,
have to like do the math.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we meet before 9. We meet at like 8:30 to kind of start
Yeah.
getting things going for our
Yeah.
before we turn the cameras on.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we'd love to have you join us. If you want to come back next time, it'll be Wednesday at 7 p.m. where Chris and I will talk about some more stuff.
Yeah.
Potentially,
Yeah.
I think Wednesday might be another shop talk where I'll talk about a
Ooh.
creativity thing, potentially, or we can continue the MCU stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
TBD. So
Okay. That sounds cool.
hope to see you there.
Yeah. 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 All right. Gentlemen Heavy, Lightos, King Cast, thank you guys so much for being here. And thank you for following us and just spending time with us. So we will see you guys Wednesday. Bye, guys. Take care. Be healthy. Don't be like me. Don't catch COVID. All right. Excuse me. God. All right. See you guys. Bye.